better to test super-sized phones than here in East London? It was the yuppies of the city who had the original big phones, and now it's the trendies and techies of Hoxton and Spitalfields who will be ideal to help give their verdicts on this new generation of devices.
We wanted to know if these phones offered any real advantages over a normal-sized smartphone, and if so, which one was best. The Sony Xperia Ultra is the big challenger. Literally, at a hand-stretching 7 by 3.5 inches, it's the biggest of the big. Flying the flag for the Windows Phone operating system is the new Nokia Lumia 1520. And the market leader is the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. 5 million have been sold worldwide, and Samsung pretty much created the phablet market. But is there a big market for big phones, or are they too much of a handful?
What do you think of these phones?
It's far too big.
I find these a bit on the large size.
It hurts your hands to hold. It's way too big.
I want something which I can sort of, you know, just shove in my pocket if I'm going out.
We all wear quite skinny jeans in Shoreditch, so I don't have very large pockets.
Is it what you think it feels like as a phone?
No, I feel rather stupid.
See, I quite like big phones. I grew up with them.
I'm not going to lie, I do feel quite self-conscious with this.
Well, about the style of this, the style of it. Sorry, I nearly dropped.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's not good, is it? It's not good.
Everybody we asked said our phones were just far too big, but many felt their size gave them one positive feature.
Yeah, I think the screen's certainly a benefit.
I could happily sit with that on a train journey or something like that.
But that's the only thing. It's nice to look at pictures on there.
Whatever you think about the size of these phones, there's no doubt they're all easier to carry around than a tablet. And that extra inch or so of screen size over a standard smartphone makes media consumption so much more satisfying. Now, all three have got 1080p screens. Question is, which one's best? All three screens are very watchable, and all three phones have microSD card slots. So loading up your favourite box set is easy and cheap.
At 6.4 inches, the Sony's got the biggest of the three screens, and first impressions are it's absolutely excellent with superb colours and angles of view. Sony are always going on about how their TV-making experience has influenced the quality of their screens, and this time it really seems to have paid off. Nokia's screen is also brilliant. The colours, if anything, somewhat more natural than the Sony's, but still very bright. The screen's slightly smaller. It's an LCD in-plane switching display. It's not AMOLED like some of Nokia's smaller phones, but it's just as good. Excellent, in fact. At 5.7 inches, the Samsung's got the smallest screen, and it uses AMOLED technology. If anything, it gives you even brighter colours, although there are lots of options in the menu to turn that down if it's all too much. It's a pretty good screen too, though.
But overall, the Sony's extra size and its superb picture quality just give it the edge here. But do these big screens actually make these phones more usable, or even more useful? I was certainly in the right place to find out. This is Old Street Roundabout, also known as Silicon Roundabout, one of Britain's epicentres for tech and software startups. If I throw a stick from here, I'll probably hit the next Bill Gates. So, where better to test whether these new super-sized phones are about to take over from smartphones and tablets and win the hearts of digital entrepreneurs? So I headed to a shared office complex where tech companies rent space in search of 3 startup moguls. I wanted to see how our phablets would thrive in the office environment and which one coped best. The Sony has a screen you can write on using a pencil or metal-tipped pen. But apart from that, does its size give it any real advantage?
It's pretty much the same as if you were using a smartphone. You're still limited to holding it in your hands and using your thumbs. It's not like a keyboard where I can touch time.
Work should be where the Nokia scores, because it comes pre-installed with cut-down versions of Microsoft's Office software.
For doing things such as emails and spreadsheets and websites, I think it's quite useful, especially things like spreadsheets where a mobile phone screen is generally too small to be able to handle the data and put formulas in and things like that. So, yeah, it's pretty good.
But the lack of other apps for Windows Phone is still a turn-off.
All the applications that are used for work and demonstrations and client presentations, you're always looking back to those Apple iPhone applications, so if you don't have those, you're kind of stuck.
Apps are no problem on the Samsung, though, which has recently been updated to Android's KitKat 4.4. It also comes with a stylus, so, as on the Sony, you can draw or make quick notes by hand.
What do you think of the Note 3 as a productivity device?
It's fast, it's quick. The larger screen size does make finding info a bit easier. It's nice to be able to hold it at a good distance without having to squint.
Meanwhile, I checked out the cameras. The Sony's megapixel count is the smallest at 8, and it also produces flat, artificial-looking images. The 20-megapixel Nokia is much better. Contrast and detail are excellent, and so are the lifelike colours. The Samsung has 13 megapixels. It too handles contrast and detail well, but falls short of the Nokia's high standards. So our supersized phones had at best a mixed response in the work environment. But what about play? Gamers like these are a big potential market for our supersized phones, but can the processors deliver an experience that makes those big screens worth having?
I'm gonna win!
All three have Snapdragon 800 quad-core processors, but the Samsung has the advantage of an extra gigabyte of RAM.
The Nokia and the Sony, we noticed the applications crashing once or twice. We had no real performance issues with the Samsung.
And when they were working, the Nokia and in particular the Sony weren't easy to play with.
They fall out of your hands.
The Sony was too slippery.
Yeah, very.
So the Samsung was the winner here. It was the most stable, and the leather effect finish on the back made it the easiest to game with.
The smaller one of all of them, and it's got the best grip on the back, so for me it's the most comfortable one to play with.
So you could live with the Samsung?
Yeah, I could definitely live with the Samsung.
As work or gaming devices, these phones didn't offer any real advantage over a normal-sized smartphone, with the exception, of course, of those excellent large screens. So, on with the G ratings. It's 3 Gs for the Sony. It's a stylish black monolith, but its shiny shell makes it hard to handle. It's got the worst camera, but the best screen. It's 3 Gs for the Nokia as well. It has the best camera, and some testers liked the Office compatibility, but that lack of other apps would worry me. And it's 4 Gs for the Samsung. It's the smallest of this big three, but it's also the most powerful. As an overall package, the Galaxy Note 3 is the clear winner.